it happened very quickly, but they're all still together at this point. West Bostock and then Roberts on the front.
Very different tactics, of course, when nobody's interested in winning the sprint, just being in the top 10. So we're not seeing the attacking, we're not seeing the aggressive riding that we'll see later on today.
5K remaining in this race. Molt Eastman of Barbados on the front once again.
Yeah, some big gaps being left on the wheels from time to time, and that's you can do that while you're going along at 50 k's an hour, but once they start to go at 60, that's going to be a problem. And if that happens in the middle of the bunch, it could get interesting.
Derek G just handing over. That was Kyle Gordon from Scotland briefly on the front. The bunch just gliding round at the moment. 63 is John Archibald.
We can normally tell who's likely to not make the cut, but it's less clear cut in this heat.
I have to say, Red Walters on the front there in the bright orange helmet from Grenada, acquitting himself well so far in this race. Pace just been lifted slightly. It was initially by William Roberts from Wales. Now it's just eased off again, relatively speaking. That's Ethan Vernon for England on the front, being followed by John Archibald.
Yeah, the gap's starting to appear now, as I mentioned, and they keep this pace. Everybody's trying to stay with it but not go through, and all the swinging up just stirs it a little bit. Nobody wants to do anything. Over halfway now, 14 laps to go, 13 as they cross the line. A little bit slower than the previous heat as well.
Singh still very much in there in the thick of it as well for India. Walters of Grenada just hands over at the front of the line.
So 3 kilometres remaining. 4 minutes of racing. Doesn't sound like a lot, but quite a lot can happen in 4 minutes.
Expect the pace to start to wind up a little bit now as we work our way into the latter stages of this qualifying race. We're only going to lose 3 riders from this field, though. Everyone else going through.
You know, tactics plays a part in this, because you might know that you're not one of the favoured riders, should we say, but get yourself on the right wheel and you could be carried through in the qualifying round.
There's Josh Duffy from Australia. He's the man 1 on the team pursuit. Kyle Gordon having a little look around. Roberts takes it up for Wales, followed by Ethan Vernon. Bostock for the Isle of Man. Last couple of kilometres coming up now, 8 laps remaining.
You see the changes are starting to happen. People are not necessarily going all the way to the back. They're just keeping themselves in the front group, circulating, always in touch in case some pace is injected. And of course, keeping plenty of bodies behind you so you can keep count of where you need to do, or where you need to be, what you need to do more easily. Nice move there by Duffy, just undertaking. Not always recommended on the track, but
Bostock seeing the opportunity there to just move through into a more forward position.
Yes.
inside the last half dozen laps.
6 laps to go, a K&a-half now. 2 minutes. They've got 2 minutes to get it right. So
In fact, could be a close finish, this.
the way it's going, it is.
Kyle Gordon there on the... just getting out of the saddle momentarily and then just flicking up the track to avoid Guillemette of Canada. Bostock moving forward on the outside for the Isle of Man, up alongside Ethan Vernon.
Yeah, K to go for qualifying. No bad move to just sit on the front and keep winding it up and wind it up. You might get past, but you're not going to get passed by everybody.
Last 3 laps here now. Matthias Guillemette has just...
Good idea.
Gapped the rest of the field slightly.
Sit there, churn away. 9 people can come over the top and you're still okay.
Race is really on behind him, and that's Kyle Gordon towards the rear end of the field. At the back is Singh of India at the moment. It's about the back of the race, rather more than the front. Big crash has brought half the field down, and one of the English riders has ended up in the crowd. A really nasty, high-speed crash, which has taken out a large number of the field. Horrible moment here inside the velodrome.
Well, it's one of the reasons why the Commonwealth Games does tend to move a little bit more towards timed events. There's a big difference in skill in the peloton. It's why we're having heats, and then when it gets that lack of skill mixed up at these kind of speeds, it doesn't always end well.
I wait for confirmation, but I think it may have been Matt Walls who ended up in the crowd. It looked that way. One of the riders flew into the front row of the crowd. I'm sure that's what I saw.
Well, we'll wait for replays, but pretty dramatic stuff.
Yes, I don't think we'll be seeing replays anytime soon. Let's wait to make sure that everybody is okay first. There will be a lot of shock among those in the crowd, as well as among the field taking part in the race, because when you come to an event, you don't expect the athletes to come flying over the fence and land into your lap. I don't think I've ever seen that before.
We've seen close.
Close. I remember Matt Glaetzer's bike landed almost on us, yes, in Colombia a few years ago. But I think it will be some time before we can continue here, because medical attention required for a number of riders in that scratch race. I think most of those involved are now back up. There is a rider, at least one, still being attended to on the side of the track, and clearly at least one who has ended up in the crowd, who flew over the railings.
So there was absolutely no need there, because so close to the finish, that to have the race stopped. But that's up to the commissaires whether they decide to have a fresh start. But there wasn't enough people upright to simply let the result stand.
So the competition delayed, and that may be the case for some considerable time. We're still not able to see who is being attended to down there on the edge of the track.
It's possible that the judges may decide to not rerun the race, but they will take riders' positions as they cross the line on the preceding lap. So we'll have to let that go. They've got quite a lot of options in an event like this. It is rare. I mean, obviously crashes they do happen on a fairly regular basis, but so late with so many people.
We do have a rider who's been placed on a stretcher at the bottom of the track, and there are still medical personnel attending to whom we know not in the front section of the crowd at the top of the banking.
So let's hope that's just precautionary. We're never quite sure. For spinal issues and the like, you've just got to be so careful.
So the last of the riders who fell on the track is now being removed on a stretcher on the far side. I think this is Matt Bostock from the Isle of Man.
Well, he's just lying back at the moment. We don't know about his condition.
Well, he didn't quite end up in the crowd, but he did collide with the barrier.
Not unreasonably, we are not keen to show replays until we know what happened there.
And unfortunately, we're unable to provide the information at this point. But I think that certainly I felt one of the riders at least catapulted the fence into the crowd. So there will be a delay here, and obviously they will need to make sure that the rider involved there who ended up off the track and in the crowd receives the best medical attention. I'm not sure whether anybody in the crowd was injured as well there. That would be a possibility. The number of children sitting in that area of the venue as well will be quite shocked by what they've seen.
Well, it would takes enormous speed to generate the energy required to get both up and out of the track, which is why we just don't see it, which is why everybody's comfortable with having the crowd so close to the racing. The design of a track makes them inherently quite safe. So we know there was bike made it over into the crowd. Just not sure if a rider went with it.
So as you can see, the cycling is delayed. We will look to update you when we do have further information. But we have Rugby 7 semi-final action coming up for you next here on BBC Red Button. But before that, let's have a look at what's happening across